Yes. I was a teacher, so I can use my teacher voice. My name is Verta Maloney, and my motto in life is that I'm all love with appropriate doses of rage. And it's how I find myself, having a company called the Gamehers. I have a bunch of slides. I will talk at them. I will not say everything that's on them. But the Gamers, we're a media company and lifestyle brand for women in the video game industry. Does anyone in here play video games? Shout out the games.
Roblox.
Okay, Roblox, have a switch. Sims. Okay, awesome. Anybody in here have a young person in their life that plays video games? Okay, anybody in here tired of buying Roblox cards, tired of buying all those,
Fortnite skins?
Well, keep them coming. I'm gonna focus this talk on women in gaming and girls and femme-identifying folks. And we connect brands to our network. This is just some basic stats, and these have probably changed since the last time. Like every second they're changing. But the video game industry is it's a multi-billion-dollar, $300 billion industry. Okay, and women control 85% of consumer spending in the U.S. So who do you think is making the decision about which game console gets into a house?
So true.
Yes, but who's buying it?
Yes.
All right, and also, who? Okay, sorry. I get so nervous when I get up here. Every single time, it doesn't even matter. And so men and women play games at similar rates, but there's a trope and this kind of stereotype in people's minds that it's teenage boys in their basements who play video games. Right? Men and women play at equal rates, and up until about middle school, girls and boys will play at equal rates as well. But middle school, we see something happen. We see a change happen where girls will not play as publicly, or girls that play The Sims don't consider themselves gamers because it's a cozy game or it's not a first-person shooter game. And the sad fact is that this is cutting girls out of opportunities in STEM careers. Okay, and it doesn't mean that. So esports, everyone's hearing esports. All it means is that it's one part of this industry. Just like the NFL has games that you play and people go and watch them, that's what esports is. Esports is bringing multiplayer games together and they fill arenas, and it's been happening for a long time where people come together to play them. It is not the only thing within the video game industry, but it's the one that's kind of getting all this buzz. It's not even the biggest money maker within the video game industry, right? But the fandom is huge and the community is huge. And so around middle school, girls will stop playing games publicly, okay? One is because of the toxicity in gaming. It can be one of the most toxic places. Has anyone here played anything like GTA or played Call of Duty, done any of these games? Fortnite. So what I encourage everyone to do is if you have kids playing these games, just be in the room, turn that mic on, so that you know what's happening in those spaces. It's what I did with my son, who's been playing video games since he was 2. He is now 21. And so he's played his whole entire life. But I used to go in there and listen. And we'd have conversations about what was happening there. Because in order for toxicity to stop, it's not on women to stop that. It's on the boys and the men who either sit by, because they don't want to hear it either, they just don't know what to do. Or they just think that it's part of the game, like toughen up, get a tougher skin. No. But listen to what's happening and be a part of the games. And you don't have to be able to play them. You don't have to love them. I used to sit in there reading a book just to be with him, and it would engender conversation. But some things that are really important to note that there are about 8 million US high school girls, and in 2021, $16 million was given for esports scholarships. So we're at a time, beautiful time, where you can actually get money to go and play video games at school to supplement your degree. And maybe you're not going to become an esports player. Maybe you're going to become a graphic designer for video games. Maybe you're going to start your own game studio. There's so many things to do in this space. But 90% of those scholarships went to men.
Wow.
Okay. Something is happening where we are not encouraging girls to continue this passion that they have, or they're seeing something that we're doing in our culture that's making them think that it's not okay for girls to play. And where we see that then showing up is that we see less STEM careers pursued in college, and we know that that's happening across the board. And then what we see is that only 13.3% of video game designers are women. And the really interesting statistic here or fact is that when video games started, I would say, first video game came out in the 50s, it was like this huge thing, probably took up this whole space, but around the 70s is when we started to see video games and more people were playing, but we also saw more equity in who was creating the games, right? So like Qbert, these games that we know, there were lots of women involved in the engineering and the background of those games, more so than we see now. That's just our community, I'm gonna skip that one. So we're talking about the future, and I have to say that in order to even see yourself in the future, you have to see yourself in the present. And so I do this because there are so many girls that come up to me, so many Black families that are like, oh my gosh, you're talking about video games and you're in this, and so these young girls can see it as a possibility for them. But this is just to talk about obsolete jobs. First of all, we're preparing children for jobs that we don't even know exist.
Right.
Okay, so we have to remember that all the time. So it's not about preparing for a job, it's preparing to solve problems. Video gamers are huge problem solvers, right? They spend their time in all of these alternate worlds and universes all the time. So who better to create a world that we don't know that we want yet, or that we don't even know how to create yet? And so this just jobs that didn't exist 15 years ago. Bloggers, SEO specialists, no one was doing no search engine optimization, only 10 to 15 years ago. Cloud service specialists, market research, and data miners, these things didn't exist. And so if we were to think about what jobs that we don't even know about that are going to exist in 5 years and 10 years, ChatGPT, prompt engineer, is like one of the hugest paid things right now. I think there's going to be a dip in that, but in order to be a prompt engineer, you can make upwards of $300K. I know, right? Like, what decisions have we made in life? Right. But the beautiful thing is that you can actually change careers into those places. Cybersecurity is huge right now, and I named this while I'm talking about video games because these things are pathways to that, right? A lot of kids will figure out how to code on their own because they love a game so much that they figure it out. Roblox, The Sims, literally about building. So many young engineers are sitting right in front of you every day. But we're not talking to them like that about it, right? We're not saying or we're not encouraging it in that way, and we really need to. So these are just some opportunities. This is just like 2023, what you can get at the top, all the way up to writer, anywhere from $15 to $22 an hour to do those jobs, okay? But these are the average for careers in video games right now. So to be a video game designer, on average, you can make $62K. And a developer, $92K on average. Why would we not want to have more women, more girls, more femme-identifying folks doing these jobs? Because right now that's not the case. Let me see. Yay, I got it. So that I can have a few questions because I wanted to be able to allow that. Yes?
I'm going to be selfish and ask a question. So I feel badly because I've actually told my daughter not to play Sims. Now I feel awful.
Don't feel awful.
So can you tell us, like, from because you described how it helps kind of develop the brain, this engineering kind of problem. What kind of things do you think are okay?
Right.
You know, because obviously I don't want them playing shooter games. That's like my text. So like, what would you say are good pathways for this type of environment?
So the first thing I would say is that you need to follow the passion of your child. So I'm not going to rule anything out, right? I think that, but my son couldn't play some of the shooter games for a long time. He was very upset with me because I was like, that's not happening. And then at a certain point, I was like, okay, you can. And he started with Halo, was one of the ones that he started with. And it's a shooter game, but it's a little bit, it's not as, I don't know, I think that some of the violence in it was just not the same way that it presented in others. So one, I'm gonna say follow the passion of your children. I think that just like anything else, don't have them doing it all day, every day. You have to monitor it. I think sometimes people imagine that just because we say play video games, we're saying, oh, they can play for their whole, like, okay, come home from school, whatever. We had rules. My son couldn't play video games during the week. He hated me, but I was like, he couldn't. He ran track. He did all of these other things. He had schoolwork. And then he could play as much as he wanted on the weekends. When there was vacations, I didn't care. Do it, do you. And the thing is that one of the things that it allowed was conversations that I could have with my son while he was playing video games that he refused to have with me any other time. Just like about sex, and he would hate to know that I'm talking about this right now, but like about sex or about like, he and a couple of his friends had jumped in New York, and New York is not, New York is dangerous, all this stuff, but not like that, but it happens, right? And so we talked about that while he was playing a video game. So that's what I would say. And so monitor it yourself, let them actually help, it kind of can help them to decide how to self-regulate. Now there's so much research on brain research. I was talking to someone in here about just recovery from traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, with a lot of veterans and soldiers. I can't remember the name of the organization right now, but they give gaming consoles to them because it's actually one way to help you to get out of fight or flight. That literally there's something that happens chemically when you're immersed in a video game that can help you with PTSD. So what I would just say is that, that's what I would say. I said all the things. Okay, question here and then a question here.
So I know we were talking in the break about some of like the equity work that you've done. So I kind of maybe if you could just kind of expand, especially with like Black children and video games and like us kind of it not also being for us, and kind of like just talk through like a little bit of that and like what your experience has been.
I mean, I think it is us, it is for us. I would say that, I'm gonna make a generalization, I would say like 80-20 rule, but Black families tend to be more risk averse. So it's like, pick a traditional career. My family's from the Caribbean, I'm first generation, so I do all these different jobs. My mom's like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Because like, she retired after 35 years from AT&T, so what do you do? And so I think that one, it is, every space is for us, but what I said at the beginning, we have to see us there to see ourselves in the future of it. I think within the video game space, there's a lot of amazing organizations doing work with Black developers, Black gamers, but the pathway needs to be there. And it does need to start early. You talked about being hyper-local. I would encourage everyone to go to your schools to find out what are they doing. Do they have an esports team or club? What are they doing with Minecraft? Minecraft is an amazing game. We just had called Battle of Boroughs in New York City, where they actually asked, teams of kids came from all the boroughs to design like a future city or something. Because you can design anything in Minecraft. Like you can like put the aquarium on Minecraft, like all of these things. So that's what I would say, and I think that for me, when I see video games, I think that the brilliance that is Black people is always robbed of us and put into video games without us being there. So I encourage us to make sure that our families and our communities know that this is a pathway, that it is a pathway. And then there was a question right here, and then I think that I'm probably gonna get some type of Sandman come and take this.
So my son is absolutely obsessed.
Yes.
With
What does he play?
Computer.
Everything?
Everything. More than anything, he watches.
Watches YouTube.
We're playing games on YouTube that still make no sense.
Yeah.
But he's ADHD, he is hyper-focused,
Yeah.
but there's an addiction component to
Yeah.
it that we struggle with.
Yeah.
And how do you manage that? Because you wanna let
Yeah. No, that's very real.
play, but it is, like, he'll have a computer open at school, and it will turn into, Ben, I see you, you're not doing your work.
Yeah.
And so, we're struggling with, like,
Yeah.
you can't have a computer because you're doing something you're not supposed to do, but I want you to have a computer because it's
Yeah.
what everyone needs to do. So how do you?
Yeah, that's a hard one, and I think that, and my children are 17 and 21, right? So I'm on a different side of that conversation because I think we're growing up with children that this is like, I say that they're indigenous to this digital land, literally born knowing how to work a phone, like literally, and half of them are walking. I see these little babies on TikTok, their heads are up and they're doing all these things. So they're able, it's a different time. That said, one of these strategies I think is to potentially gamify life in some ways. And so I think because your child is very drawn to games, how do you gamify life? How do you like make it like, here are these tasks to complete, level up in the house, like take what's happening in the video game and bring it into life. I think that's really important. And then I think that the other thing that's super important is them seeing you love their interest, because then they're gonna be more interested in doing what you're interested in doing. So if you take an interest in that, I know you love this video game, show me what you're building. I mean, they'll probably like lose their minds. You wanna see you're not even gonna understand it. Like Minecraft, I'm like, what are you talking about? But they, go in there and see it, but then you'll be like, okay, like, let's go do this thing, or like, or how can you, let's go for a walk, let's go for a hike, and can you build our hike in Minecraft when we get back?
Oh, that's
These are like, so just gamify life in some ways and kind of embrace it because it really is their world, right? And so that's just one idea, one strategy.
I love that.
great job.
So if